All right, good evening. Welcome to an unconventional second community group in a week. We've done this, we called this one because we have an opportunity to make the most of something. And this something is sat next to me. And no, it's Linda. Linda Ramus. Linda, in our opinion, in mine and Jenny's opinion, and I'm sure the opinion of many people who actually know Linda, is what we would call an unsung hero of three principles. A very modest lady who doesn't really you don't really shout too much about stuff. And your achievements in the field of getting the three principles into the prison system. Linda used to head up the three principles department in Santa Clara County. Yeah, right, we'll go into this. But we feel like she's a mine of information and a true, in our opinion, unsung hero. I know you spoke at Viva for the first time, was it this year?
Yeah.
And I think that blows my mind that it was the first time. So Linda has spoken on our community groups before. I think you've spoken at least once, possibly twice.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of years ago. In fact, Sue, I think you came over.
Sue was there.
Yeah, Sue,
Remember?
you came over from the northeast. I remember you coming with Bernie, and yeah, so we have an opportunity. Linda is in our house. She comes and stops with us periodically. We have the real privilege of spending time with her. So whilst we're here, we thought we'd tap her up for a little bit of a community group call where people can ask her questions and you can share a little bit about yourself, and this unsung hero can get some recognition. So that.
Well, I don't know about unsung hero. I mean, I was gifted an opportunity and I was at the right place at the right time. And so I was part of this incredible community that existed in Santa Clara County from 95 to I don't know, almost 15, 20 years. But anyway, we had a great community of people and we had a unique opportunity, and that the director of alcohol and drug services in Santa Clara County wanted this and he just funded it. He didn't care what anybody said. So I was just, sitting there at the right time and kind of got promoted up to run the programs. And I always saw my job was to get this out to as many people as fast as I could, as long as I had the money, So we just, funded as many programs as we could. But yeah, so I just think, no, I was not so much, I was just, gifted with an opportunity. And that was, not only gifted the opportunity to learn about the principles, but to be part of this community that was just all about sharing the understanding, like I said, to as many people as we could. And that was a unique time and place, and I don't know if there'll ever be another but the principles just go out. I mean, we had a unique time and opportunity, and other people right now are having unique times and unique opportunities and are getting this out to lots of people. And you look at somebody like Sue and Sheila are getting this out. I mean, all the work they put into doing things like Viva, and the people who attend Viva go back out and touch people, and it's just that ripple effect. Somebody mentioned that each one of you, whoever you talk to, this is ripple effect. I'm right now not really doing any formal classes. I'm saying right now I'm an opportunistic teacher, meaning that, if I sit down to have dinner with somebody, we could get into a really deep conversation and I'm sharing the principles. It's almost like once you learn about it, that's all you can talk about. So that's what I did. I just finished a one of the Caminos de Santiago, and when I would sit down with fellow pilgrims around dinner or whatnot, we end up talking about it. I laughed and told somebody that I was on the Pacific Crest Trail a couple of years ago, and I fell and I broke my ankle, and I was laying in the middle of the trail with a broken ankle, and this other through hiker comes wandering in, and he says, "I'll stay with you till the search and rescue get here." And then he says, "Oh, I'm going to be a counselor." And guess what I start talking about? So here I am, laying in the middle of the trail, in the middle of the mountains, and I'm sharing the principles with this guy. So it's like, yeah, I'm right now going to label myself an opportunistic teacher. And I think we all of you are to some degree or another, right? Wherever you are, there's where you be sharing the understanding with somebody. But yeah, I'm just sort of starting to pay attention to that ripple effect now, I think. And as that ripple effect gets way out there, farther and farther away from the first drop that started the ripple, you don't know. You don't know who's on the outer rings of your ripple. But that's just sort of, I think, the nature of, the principles. We're all little drops of water. We all start creating ripples. So, yeah. So, do we want to do Q&A?
Yeah, sorry I missed the beginning. Lucia definitely knows when I want her to go to sleep, and she doesn't, so I was a little bit late. But I wanted to also say thank you to Linda. We met Linda in 2009, where Gabby, another teacher, introduced us, and you stupidly said that me and my ex-husband Rudy could stay with you. And we ended up being
How long did you stay?
a few months.
Almost 2 months, 2 or 3 months.
But yeah, so Linda was pivotal in getting the Three Principles movie site started, and all of the interviews we got that you set up, and introductions and things. And then we've just stayed friends over the years. But I found the picture I promoted this was from 2012, so a bit younger.
Yeah, I sort of became, I don't know how many people from here visited and stayed with me.
Made you into an Airbnb.
Yeah, I mean, there's Chantel, there was Stephen Tony, there was
Faye.
Dave, yeah,
Faye,
yeah. I mean, yeah, Faye. Oh God, we're gonna talk about what Faye's up to. Yeah, but so it was just a lot of fun, and that sort of led me to get to know everybody over here. And now I don't go to Viva or go to Spain unless I make a stop over here. So yeah, you're kind of like my family too. So yes.
Cool. But yeah, Q&A.
Q&A. Anybody have a question? Should we give answers first, or and then let the questions come? But yeah. What's up, Dean?
Maybe, Linda, maybe you could say a little bit about that amazing team of people you had. You had quite a team, didn't you, in Santa Clara County?
What was that?
Can you talk about you had such a team in Santa Clara County? Can you talk a bit about kind of those people and what you created?
Yeah, I mean, again, because we had the funding and we had the infrastructure, we had the organization, the program, in place, that we could do all of those things and hold the center and bring people in, just because we had as part of a county program, we had the place to just work from, a solid foundation, no worries about funding, and we just anytime somebody wanted to do something, I just looked at my budget and said, well, let's see if we can do it. But one of the first things, and we talked about this last week at Viva, is our first trainer, the man who taught us initially about the principles, was Roger Mills. And Roger's model was to go in, and train up trainers and then leave. And that was what Bob Garner wanted. He wanted to train up trainers and build his own program up. So then it was, became self-sustaining. So that was a big piece of what I would do. It was to run a trainer programs. And a number of our trainers were people who had gone through our classes and programs in the jails or in a treatment facilities. And, they had this unique understanding about the people we were working with. I mean, they had been there, done that. They knew them. They knew what was. And so they were really good at just connecting with people. But, one of the things, I don't know where people are, but I want to share a lesson learned. It was an important lesson learned that back in those days, people were a little judgmental of people who were doing the work that weren't principle-based, the traditional treatment models. And so that kind of backfired on us. It created some ill will. And we learned quickly, it's like, wait. And I'm not saying that, I didn't know that much about the other treatment models, so I wasn't making too much judgment. But we quickly learned, it's like, well, no. All of those models can work if people go in there from a state of mind of wanting to be of service and loving their clients. That's the key. Then the clients are the ones that have the insight. I always said, I don't teach anybody anything. You learn. I don't teach. You learn. And so it got to be like, we really would make it a point and to take the time to acknowledge the work that everybody is doing, no matter what they were doing or how they were doing it. It's like they were in there to help people. And, they did. All those, but so it's always to be humble with how we're doing the work and how we talk about this. And I always, one of my litmus test is somebody humble and how they're talking about the principles. Because when I realize there are times when I'm not being humble and I realize, oh my God, I'm talking through my ego and I'm making all this stuff up. You can feel that all of a sudden it doesn't feel right. It feels kind of harsh for me anyway. And then I'll have to stop and I'll tell my class, stop, wait, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about here right now. I got to back up. But yeah, with people who are doing the work, doing other things, and then even our own colleagues, is to stay out of our ego and not judge people. I have to say, in all innocence, we were judged by a lot of the traditional models, and we were told we don't belong. I was told straight up once, you don't belong. And, that's coming a lot of the times from them not knowing what we're doing and afraid that because they don't know what we're doing, we're not serving the client. The client isn't benefiting, and they really can see and that these people, are kind of in bad situations that they need this help, So in all innocence, we're judging each other because we think they're not doing a good job, and they think we're not doing a good job, all because we care about the clients. So that was a big lesson learned.
Other questions?
Sue.
Sue?
Hi, Linda. Linda, I get everything that you're saying because I've been sharing the principles in the Northeast now for 10 years. And it was a hard place to start because of, what I was speaking about. But it certainly got a momentum going. We've probably had, I don't know, about 1,000 or more people, maybe 1,500 through the different programs I've done. It was disrupted by COVID, obviously. I'm just picking up the pieces again and starting from the point that was created because of that. And I certainly hearing you talking about like training people up or having people to share the load, so to speak, is what I hear clearly, because that's something that I'm wanting to do, because it's only been me at the moment that's been sharing the principles in the Northeast, not the Northwest, the Northeast. And I've taken every opportunity that I can, but you still need a little bit of support around you. And I've just got a role recently, because I took up a little job, because obviously you've got to pay your way in life. And it's about people's lived experiences. And the frustrating thing for me was at first is that in the UK, the government have got a 10-year plan around community mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all the usual stuff that's getting supported, when the actual success of what we've been doing kind of gets put to one side sometimes, really. And I think we had a conversation in Spain one year about, research and how you make it readable, let's say, or understandable to people. So I'm still in that kind of place of, speaking in plain English so they understand it, really. And I just, you're not an unsung hero to me. You're just a fantastic role model. So I thank you for that, Linda. And, just to let you know that it's happening in our communities.
Yeah, doesn't it surprise you that they're still doing chicken soup when what you have is the real deal, right? But again, that does help people. I stay humble with that. But I hear you, because we've done work. We've presented them with the evaluations. We've presented them. People saying we want more, and this is the greatest thing. This is the best stuff we've ever had, and still they bring somebody else in. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, what can you do? You just kind of like move on, you know? You've already made your impact on people, and there's, plenty more people out there, but it is kind of puzzling sometimes, It is. But I don't know. Yeah, that is kind of a puzzle.
I also feel like I do trust something that's more than me to know that when it's meant to land and where it's meant to land, it'll all come about.
I think we are all opportunistic trainers, because it's not predictable who may be your next audience, who may be the next person or organization you work with. It's like Kathy Casey got us into the jail because she was going around, she was knocking on everybody's door over at the jail, and she was getting, the cold shoulder until she walked into this one woman's office, and the woman says, and she kind of gave her the brief summary of what, we were wanting to bring in, and the woman just said, "Oh my God, I'm looking for you." I mean, she could have gone in the day before, and the woman might not have heard her. So, I don't know if you want to talk about it was meant to be, or you just say it was an it just happened by chance. But that's kind of how, we got into this jail, and then this woman got really behind the program and became sort of our champion to get us in there and help us get into various different places. And so, yeah, but we all just keep knocking on the door, and not being too concerned about who answers. Yo, Dean.
Hey, Linda, why don't you maybe tell a couple of the stories? Because there's so many amazing stories from your time in the jails. Some of them just so incredible. I think people would love to hear some of that.
Yeah, there's a million stories there, but it was, I mean, we were in there a long time, so we had we had, a lot of material to work with. And the jails are the easiest place to work. Really are. Because you're working with people who finally have said, "I don't know. I give up. I know I don't know, and I don't want this anymore." And then those who are in your class who want to try to play the system, all you do is just ask the correctional officer to please remove that person. So you have no problem with classroom management because they're gone. But that's generally the case, is people are just really hurting and they want something. Yeah.
I remember you saying when we interviewed you that often you didn't want to know what that people were in for.
Right.
You wanted to go in without all of that on your
Yeah.
mind and just meet people.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of irrelevant. I always said, the way I would do it, even if I knew something about a person or they were presenting in a certain ways, you just look past it. You just look right through it. They're just giving you their Halloween costume, and that's not who the person is. Yeah. I worked in a domestic violence program with the perpetrators, and the county probation who'd send them to us was always expecting us to read their cases. Well, I never read their cases. None of us read their cases except the program director, because she needed to be able to report back to them. So she needed to know the individuals and what they thought. But you didn't need to know their cases. I mean, that's not who you're talking to. You're just talking to Tommy over here. And and guys told us, some of them, we said, "Oh, you would not like us if you knew what we did." It's like, well, then don't tell me. So, but I mean, I'll give you some more stories then, Dean. This is the one. Kathy Casey was working in the high security. This was a maximum in the county jail. And these were guys. There's a guy who was on trial. He was awaiting sentencing. It could even be life without parole or death. Okay. And he'd been in Kathy's class for a while, and he got it. He was one of those guys who becomes almost your co-facilitator. And so when probation came in to talk to him and all, they saw that this guy was not the same guy. the change was so radical that even, the prosecutor wanted to know what the heck happened. I mean, the defense was saying, yeah, this is not the same guy. And even the judge wanted to know what the heck happened to this guy. So they brought Kathy in to testify at his sentencing hearing. And the guy was really like, I really don't care, what it is. I'm at peace. I feel more at peace than I have ever in my life. So I'm not worried about anything. I'm not worried about this. And, he got life, but it was one case where, I mean, I'm sure it was sometimes, if you've noticed, it's almost a physical transformation. They look different. Have you ever noticed that? That somebody actually physically looks different. And the change was so dramatic that, yeah, they had to bring her in and ask her what the heck happened, what happened to this guy. So, yeah.
Any other ones spring to mind?
What about that story where one of the prisoners that was released for maximum security wanted to meet Kathy Casey to talk to her, and I don't know if I'm getting this right or not, but you're not really supposed to meet the prisoners when they've left prison. And then she said she did meet him for, I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, she said she met him, and he told the following story. You probably know it better than me, Linda.
I don't know.
No? So he said that there was a man being transferred from one high security to their high security, and he was the guy that actually raped this man's daughter. Okay, so she said that he met her to talk to her, to tell her the story that this man was going to be brought to that jail, and he went to speak to the governor. I don't know how he did that, but anyway, he said, do not allow that man to come to this jail or he will die. Now, he said, I had no intention of doing him any harm. I'm leaving jail. I want to, and I didn't have any bad feelings towards him. But I knew that if he came to that jail, the other men would kill him. So he said, send him somewhere else or he'll die. And apparently they sent him somewhere else. So just that amazing, that how deeply he'd seen it was enough for him to forgive the very man that had raped his daughter, which I thought was just, oh my God, so incredible.
Yeah. I was laughing at the conference in our workshop, and I said, we should have a breakout session and share the oh my God stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, I was the manager. I mean, as a manager, I always made sure I was doing at least one class a week. I mean, I just, needed to do that. But for the most part, I was sitting in my office and the trainers would come in, give me their invoices for their work. And then, of course, they're going to be sharing the oh my God stories. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe what just happened. And to the degree that it was almost like, oh, well, just another miracle this afternoon, because they just all had the oh my God stories. And a miracle is not an unusual occurrence. We make the mistake of thinking a miracle is unusual. Miracles happen all the time. Miracles are normal. And we think they're unusual just because we're not paying attention. Every time you have an insight, that's a miracle. Anytime anybody sees this, that's a miracle. Make a shift. That to me is the miracle, because a miracle is just something that's that transformation point. Anytime we have that transformation, that's a miracle. They're just normal. And somebody started getting the idea that a miracle was something unusual and an oh my God moment. But the oh my God stories were fun. I mean, it's just fun to share the oh my God stories. But so I was running a trainer programs, and this young guy came into the program and wanted to be a trainer. So we would hang out and talk. And he was sharing with me about how he learned about this. Substance abuse was his problem. So they had him, and he was also dual diagnosed. But anyway, so he was in county jail, and they always have a bookcase with books so people can have something to do besides watch TV. And he said he went over and he picked up this little book and he took it back to his cell and he read the book and he read it again and he read it again and he read it again. And I don't remember, he read it 12, 14 times to the point where his cellmate said, "Look, enough with that book. I'll give you a newspaper to read," right? And he said, "No, man, no, no, no." He left, got out of jail, and he went to this to a program. It was a shelter. A lot of places where they'll transition from jail to the shelter and then transition on out to hopefully, just finding job and taking up their lives. And he walks into this shelter, and it's where we had a real pretty strong presence. We had a couple of people in there, especially this one woman who was really trained, she was my go-to lady. Anytime there would be somebody who was really seriously have issues, mental health issues, some substance abuse issues, she was my go-to lady. And so he was sitting in her group and she starts talking about this stuff, the principles, of course. And he got up on a break and he walked out and he says, "Oh my God, it's the palm tree book, Second Chance," that he had read over and over and over. And he finally heard somebody talking about what he was reading. And so he goes on to this other woman about, do you know what that says? And did you hear what, she was saying? And the woman just says, "Yeah, mind, thought, consciousness." And when he told me that, it was like, that's hilarious. That's just, no big deal, just mind, thought, and consciousness. And he was one of those who, his mother came in and said, "Thank you for saving my son." That one of those. But again, just another story. And he ended up getting a job and moving on to out of Santa Clara County because other counties were cheaper to live in and he find jobs easier. But yeah, that always cracked me up. That the palm tree book and the power of a book, the power of just, Sid's book. Pretty cool.
Linda, you wrote a chapter for George Halpin's book, A Life Less Serious.
Mm-hmm.
And you spoke a bit about how you feel it's been incremental for you in terms of your depth of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Often we have people that are waiting for that oh God moment or the aha moment, or they have an idea of what it's going to look like when they get something. Can you speak a bit to that?
Yeah. Okay, so and I still am, this real hard-headed intellect. I mean, my first job in the 3 Principal Service Division was, get this, a management as their analyst. Almost oxymoronic, right? But anyway, so yeah, the first time I heard about the principles, what struck me was, oh my God, this is common sense. And it was just sort of, oh, it wasn't a head peeler. It was just like, oh. And then, it took me another 15 years. And still, to this day, it's sort of like, the drops of water on the hard-headed intellects, concrete intellect, drip, drip, drip. And so I don't, I've seen people who have what I call the head peeler moments. They're like, oh my God. and they almost, jump up out of their chair, and you can almost literally see them change physically, you know. However, I think I'm almost lucky that I didn't, because sometimes when that happens, they keep chasing the next one. It's almost like that first hit, and they want the next big one because that experience was so crazy good. But for me, it's just been more of an evolution, and I think there are all moments when each one of us sees this profoundly, as profoundly as Sid Banks. But then we don't have that. I guess it's not, the light bulb doesn't go on quite that bright, but we see it, and then we shift, and then we see it, and then we shift. And if you think about your own evolution and understanding, you'll sit back and say, whoa, I really have changed from where I was way back when. It's almost invisible, our shifts and our change, until we just, either somebody points it out, or at some point we just all of a sudden realize, oh wow, life really is not so hard anymore. Oh, you know what? I don't get as angry anymore. Oh, you know what? I may get angry, but I pull out of it fast. Or, oh, you know what? I used to go into these really dark, low places, and I just hang out there. And now I don't. I go there, but then I don't stay there very long anymore. So you can see your own change every once in a while. But that was how I got it. Incrementally, just sort of just kept kind of rolling out. And I mean, I was blessed because I was in this program for so long that, excuse me, that, the drops just, are pretty consistent. And I was around other people, and I was just kind of immersed in the understanding. So that's probably how come I ended up, getting this. But nowadays, um, I see those little, I call them hits, those little aha moments. You know, I see them, I recognize them, the hit, the drop of water, the aha moment. And it's just like boom, ba-dum, da-dum. They just kind of keep rolling out. And I think every time that happens, I change a little bit more. My understanding gets a little bit more. I feel a little bit more solid. I don't think about it anymore. I think, there's the change. But I mean, there are times when, like, just this past 6 weeks, yeah, I've been out on the Camino, but I've noticed myself get reactive. Oh my God, plane ticket got screwed up. Oh my God, my credit cards got canceled, and they did. Can you imagine you're traveling and all of a sudden you can't use your credit cards? It's like, oh no. And all this little stuff keeps happening. And so I'm kind of constantly having to, like, make adjustments and just kind of not necessarily keeping my cool either, but it doesn't last as long. When I lose it, I recover. And so I'm just sort of sitting here thinking that if this had happened to me before I understood about the principles, they would probably be sending me home in a straitjacket. But as bumpy and as kind of out of sorts as I've kind of felt on this trip, it's not like it's been smooth and easy. It's like, but it all works out. But it has all worked out. And so maybe my lesson this time, and I'm always looking for a lesson on these trips, is to look back and reflect and see how it really does work out. I've been able to go back, clear my mind, figure things out, and it all works out. Because there was time like, how am I going to do this? And then the next day I have the answer. It's like, oh, okay. So it's been kind of that trip and that kind of a learning experience this time around. Hasn't been smooth, but it's all worked out. So for me, it's just, yeah, little lessons keep getting learned over and over again.
I like that. Does anyone else have questions for Linda? Steve?
Hi, Linda. I just wondered, in your experience and the delivery model in the States, are there high-level groups of people who are more likely to engage with the principals? Like you've talked about prisoners, but they're kind of literally a captive audience, I guess. I've heard of some successes with people I've done training with in vets practices, so vocations that are typically quite stressful. I just wondered if there was you had any ideas around groups of people who are more likely to engage that we can get the message out to.
I don't know. I mean, I have not worked with business because we can't use public money to fund work with private. But I bet you I've worked with just about every other type of public nonprofit and that there's out there. And I can't really say that one's easier than the other. Believe it or not, I think teachers are a hard group to work with because they keep deflecting to the students. You keep wanting them to talk about, no, this is for you. No, this is for you. And then they deflect, it's for the students. Just like, no. But, because they care so much, they're still a good group to work with. So, I don't know. I wouldn't. County bureaucrats are sometimes kind of hard to work with. The easy ones, yeah, the easy ones are, like you say, the ones in jail. Little kids are easy. But don't know if I think one of the things I always, and I've made the mistake and get into thinking about who's in front of me. Are they easy or are they hard? And I said that about teachers. And I think if I walked in to work with teachers and I thought about that, that would get in my way. So it's like whoever you're with, you don't think about, are they going to be hard or easy? You don't know. I mean, so yeah, that's us thinking they're hard. That's us thinking they're easy. Another story. We would do these great big trainings. We could have 50 people, but they were usually county employees or the staff from the nonprofits with whom we worked. Okay. And they were like a 5-day intensive. So, it's like hard to know who was in these trainings. And I was doing a class at night at this women's work furlough program. They worked in the day, they come back. But anyway, they were all still in custody. So I would go in and out. And every time I go in and out, I'd have to sign out with the probation staff at the desk. So I'm signing out one night after my class, and there's this guy standing. I knew this guy. I don't remember if I knew him because he was in training, but anyway, probation officer. And he looked at me, he said, I was going to commit suicide until I attend your training, and now I'm not. And I'm just like, think. He turns around and he walks back into another part of the office and I signed out and I went home. Again, that effect, again, not thinking about, I could have thinking about probation staff. Oh my God, they're the worst. They treat their people like crap and I'm real judgmental of them. But yeah, so I think the thing we need to remember is just to not to have any thinking about anybody you're sitting down with or want to work with. you know, um, that can get in our way.
Thank you, Linda.
When you were speaking, I was thinking all the stories that you never got to hear as well, the people that you work with, and like I know there's been times where we've bumped into people that they've worked with when he first sort of came across this, and they've said, "Oh wow, it's still impacted my life," and he would never have known. But when you were speaking, one of the things that often people who would like to share this will feel like they're not ready. Like when you've, in your experience working with like train the trainer programs, and generally do you find it's just the people that go out there and start sharing what they've seen, or but so many people don't think they're ready to share, or they don't know enough, or they need to get somewhere?
I got to tell you my own story. I mean, I was in this trainer programs, and part of being in it, I mean, way back when I first started, was I had to have a group, right? And I had a lot of thinking about, I don't know what I'm talking about, you know? And I was lucky that we were working with a women residential substance abuse treatment program. And so they let us anybody in. I was like, what the heck? And so, I just put myself out there, and the word went out, we're doing this class. And half the people show up think we're a cult or something. They're there just to try to find something wrong with us. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So, I just kind of stumbled through it. I still stumble through it. So you share what you know, and, sometimes you're stumbling through it, but oh well. The one thing I do know, you will, whatever, there's going to be benefit for somebody from you being there and something you say. You may not have any idea that what you said impacted anybody. You don't know. Sometimes they'll come back and tell you directly, but a lot of times you don't know. And that's okay. You just keep doing it. You just keep putting yourself out there, and to the best of your ability, share what you know. What you know is a lot. You don't know that, but what you know is a lot. Like I said, in any one moment, you can be so profound, and it just comes, sometimes I would say, damn, where did that come from? Boy, I was good on that one. But no, you just keep sharing what you know. I mean, if you have the desire to share, then do it. You don't have to, though. You don't have to. And that's the other thing. I sometimes get a little bit, have a little thinking about it. At a place like Viva, some of the first things people will ask, well, what are you doing? And I think sometimes people feel compelled to be able to say they're doing something. And no. I mean, you can be learning this and just enjoying your life. The fact you're enjoying your life means you're impacting the people in your life. So I went to my second training. It was Mark, Howard, and Sandy Crott. And after the training, it was a weekend. People were saying, well, what are you going to go do? And we're going to go share here. We're going to start groups here, blah, blah, blah. And they turned to this one guy and he said, well, what are you going to do? He says, I'm a carpenter.
I think that going back to the point you were making at the beginning about loving people, I think, when you were talking about groups, that's why it really doesn't matter which groups you've got, because if you love people, then it doesn't matter what background they're coming from or whether you think they're hard or not. If you love them, then they're going to have the impact from that alone, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make all the difference in the world. If you love people, if you love kids, then the work becomes much easier.
Yeah. So, but the other thing I tell people, if you want to do a group, and people say, well, how do I find a group? And I say, well, you know what? One way you can do that is by identify within your community, is there a nonprofit that does anything? or even a, school or a church, and you go in and you say, hey, I'd like to volunteer for you. What do you need me to do? Okay, so you start off by doing what they're asking you to do. Set up the tables and chairs, make copies, make coffee, whatever they want or they need help with, you do that. And now you're getting to know the organization, and you're getting to know the people in the organization, and they're getting to know you, and you're establishing a relationship with that organization. This is stealth mode, right? And then you come out and you say after you've been with them a while and you have that relationship, you say, I got this other stuff here that I think would be a real good addition to what we're doing here. Can I start this little group on a Tuesday and blah, blah, blah. So now you're in. And that's one way, people can find places if they want to do groups or they want to work in their community. You go in and you start working in the community, doing what the community thinks, is going to help them. But yeah, so there's ways to do that. And who knows, maybe within a year they got you on staff and you're getting paid to do it. When Kathy and I were doing our classes in San Quentin, there was this other organization. They were running numerous classes, and they came up to us and they wanted us to work for them. And we both said, no, we don't want to work for anybody, because, then they would probably feel like they're going to tell us when and how to do what we were doing. It's like, no, we'll just stay independent. So, and we had the luxury of that. And I know some people out there don't have the luxury of, doing things as a volunteer for very long, but that is one way you can get something going.
Do you want to say something, when you're muted?
All I said was, that's a great idea, to myself. Thank you, Linda.
Are you home?
And I am home. Yes, I'm feeling alive and in my own body and in my own time zone. I have a cup of tea. Life is good. And I still laugh every time when I had a cup of tea or something with Linda Ramus last November in Plant Shack. And she was talking about her and Kathy Casey. And she said they would walk out of a meeting at the prison and they look at each other and go, this shit works. And I just have this vision of making 3P t-shirts that says, this shit works. Signed, Linda Ramus and Kathy Casey. This shit works. I love it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, like I said, miracles. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you do this. I mean, every week you walk out and you're still amazed. You're still in that like, wow.
It was cool at the last conference in London, like it was this year. So in July this year, someone came over to me and said, you don't remember me again, do you? And I was like, oh no, who is it? And he said, I came to a training that you and Rudy did in 2011, I think it was 2010, 2011. And it was a group of NHS workers up in Norfolk. And he said, you've got no idea what that did, but I've been involved in the principles ever since. And we didn't think we'd impacted anybody in that organisation. Like, we kind of came out and felt a bit deflated because it didn't feel like we'd had some of the impact we'd had in like other groups. But it was so nice because you think, well, just that one person who's then continued to learn, and he now goes out and does things. And I think that's the thing to remember. Like, whenever we do our community group, if just one person shows up, it's worth it. And we have said, even if no one shows up in person, we'll go ahead anyway and we'll put it out on the internet, and who knows who we'll meet. So we haven't had it yet. We've always got at least one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? I feel like we've got Linda here, so we don't always have her.
Oh, I'll just hi Jen.
Hiya.
Hi. I just wanted to say thank you to you, Linda, because Yeah, it's just really nice to hear you. Actually, it's the first time I've heard you speak. I've been around the principles for about, well, probably about 10 years plus. I'm not sure, to be honest now. Lost track of time, but I really appreciate what you're saying because, well, Jen may remember, I mean, it was way back now, a long time ago when Jenny and Rudy put on a training. And it was the first time, I think, yeah, for me to meet Dickin. And I had a massive insight at that training. And I've had lots of insights and stuff since, but I still had a lot of thinking about, I mean, by profession, I'm an acupuncturist. So I shared in my clinic with mums who were trying to get pregnant. And I'm shared with anybody who listened, to be honest. But I still have had a lot of thinking about running groups, even though actually in the clinic, ridiculously now reflecting on it, I still may have had a small group. Maybe it might be a mum with, you know, with her baby, me, and maybe a middle child, and then a teenager, and that's a small group, isn't it? But I still have had a lot of thinking about being at the front of the room. And then well, I saw Jenny and Dave in Morocco. We had a friend of mine, of ours, put on a retreat in Morocco. And at that time, Dave said, well, are you going to go to the conference in London? And I said, well, no, I had no, I hadn't planned it. I had no intention to go. But then on the morning, I knew that Dave and Jenny were going. I still didn't. I didn't think I was going to go. But then, on the morning of the conference, I didn't sleep all night. Something happened the night before, which really got in my head. Even though I'd had a really nice day for some friends' wedding. And in the morning, I just thought, what am I doing? Dickin is in London. I'm about an hour and 20 away from London on the coast. I thought, God, get it together, get up there. Until I saw Dave and Jen. Dave was like, well, I thought you weren't going to come. I said, well, I wasn't. But it was just, I just loved Dickin. And I was on his first Healing the World program. That was maybe, I don't know. Again, I'm losing track of time, but about 7 years ago. I know that a lot of my friends, colleagues in the Three Principles world, sometimes they say to me, well, I could tell sometimes they'd say, well, why wasn't I doing groups or something? Anyway, but anyway, I saw Dickin at the conference, and they were presenting about the Three Principles. 3P Africa is going through Africa. I didn't know about that. Harry's doing phenomenal work. He started off a lot of groups there, and at the conference, the Wi-Fi wasn't very good. I'm actually completely deaf, but nobody realizes that. The Wi-Fi was really terrible, and it wasn't just me, but I don't think people could hear really what was being said, and because of the Wi-Fi. But I was just like really blown away because it's such a long time since I've been to conference. I said, oh my God, I didn't realize this was happening. And we had a great time. I saw Marina Gallen for the first time, and lots of other, Natasha and Dave and Jenny and the beautiful little girl. But when I came away from it, I was like, really, my mind was blown about Africa. And then somebody reached out to me from Malawi after the conference, totally randomly. Well, anyway, now I don't really know what happened, but I really like what you said about, well, we don't realize how much we've changed. And to be honest, I've probably been waiting for a long time. And it's not as if I haven't shared, but I've tried things that haven't worked. They tried, blah, blah, blah. And it's like now my daughter's just left home. Jen, my daughter Maisie, who Jenny's known since she's about 8, probably, has left home. She's gone to university. It's like now I have the space. And this guy reached out to me from Malawi, and well, I'm setting up a project over there, and I'm going to go there probably in January. It's like sometimes it's just timing. what you were saying before, you just never know, do you? When it's your time, and it just feels like, well, this is my time, and I feel like I've been waiting for such a long time. I have all the books and all the ideas in place, and it's like it's going to be just. I feel really good that, you know, to have the opportunity, and just to know that, yeah, it feels like everything's falling into place. So anyway, it's late, and just to thank you really, and that really resonated what you were saying about that. So thank you, Jen. Give my love to Dave.
Keep us posted on what happens and how it goes.
I will for sure. Nice to see some other people on the call as well that I know, Wendy, and yeah, cool. All right, thank you, Linda.
Yeah, like I said, we're all these drops, and we all create ripples. And we don't know, you know, we never know what's happening out at the edge of the ripple effect. But everybody is creating a ripple.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when you've learned the principles and you're on your way to, you know, it's a natural evolution, but finding that more peace of mind, finding that more connection to our spiritual center. You know, it's always there, and it's just we're not always aware of it in our human when we're in our human existence. But that's just the nature of that, you know, that spiritual us as we create ripple effects that go out. And with this understanding, those ripple effects are having this positive impact out there. Other ripples are coming and connecting, but yeah, it's just, I mean, we got nothing to do with it. We're not doing anything. It just it is.
I guess it's that in the past I was probably just really trying hard, but there's a lot of effort in trying, you know, because that's your pushing, and actually just to allow, you know, the same as with the breath, where
you
don't have to think about the breath really. So yeah, thank you. That's really helpful, actually.
You know, one of the things that I've seen in the programs I was running, you know, we impacted, you know, thousands of people over the years, is that there's always these people, ones when they hear it, they say, oh my God, I got to share this with other people. I got to go out and I got to talk about it. I got to share it. I got to do this. And it's something about, you know, the nature of principles is it keeps wanting just to inform the human being, and it just is. We don't have, it's not on you to try to do it, you know, just be you.
Right. Yeah. I think in the past, because of well, when perhaps maybe that's the same for a lot of people when you first come around the principles, and then like I met Jenny was one of the first people that I met, and Rudy, and then maybe you can just think, oh well, I couldn't do that, or you can compare. Yeah. Yeah. Or I want to be like so and so, but you can't. You can only be yourself.
And that's your, if you call it your role in life, that's who you are. That's just kind of, yeah, that's all you have to be.
Yeah.
You don't have to be anything else.
Right.
You know, people do a lot of comparing, I think, in this Three Principles community about, you know, they look up at other people. Again, they all talk about doing, and they look at other people who are seem really, really gifted and talking about the principles and sharing the principles, speaking about the principles. And so they get a little and then they get a little insecure. And that's the reason why you think you can't do it.
I think because, and even when I joined Dickens' program, you know, Healing the World, because I loved Dickens so much, and Dickens knew that. One time he said to me, well, let's meet as equals, because he realized I was putting him on a pedestal. But even though I met with him, there was still a bit of part, probably a big part, that I was still thinking, oh, it's Dickens. but Dickens, obviously Dickens had a long time of being around the principles and knew Sid, and he also must have, we forget that, as he had anxiety and had thinking about, well, previously when he was younger, yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of people who met Sid that walked away and thought he was full of it, you know. So, you know, yeah, that's how come, you know, all of us here right now today, we just say it. And when you speak from what you know, and you're just speaking from your heart, and who you're speaking to, you're speaking to them with just an open heart. That's it.
Right.
That's all it is.
I think that's one of the things I remember Coisy saying about Dickon was, even before he came across the principles, that was Dickon. Like, he was just that kind of playful, loving, and then he came across the principles and it really helped him with his own anxieties. But it's nice because often now he will talk about the anxieties he still can feel. He has a different relationship with them. But I think when you see somebody present, that, like, often you just get filled with this feeling, and you're talking, and you're not thinking about any of your anxieties or your frailties or your humanness. But then if you followed anyone around for a week, even teachers you've put like way up here, you'd see they've got their own little things going on, and they get caught up. And I think it's easy to forget that when you see people like relaxed presenting, and even when people tell stories, people like don't believe it. They're like, no, but you must be different.
I guess when you're presenting, Jen, it takes your attention off yourself. Yeah.
But it's funny, Sue, who's on the call now, had a conference over in the Northeast in last Friday, and I'd been sat playing with Lucia, and then Sue came over and went, 5 minutes until I was supposed to present. And I don't often do things just on my own. I'm normally like paired up with someone, and I sat at the front of the room and I was like, oh my God. And then I shared, and then I felt absolutely fine. And as soon as I realized the time and Dickon was going to come on, I was like, time up. And then I went and sat next to Bernie, and I was like, oh God, what did I say? And did it make any sense? And suddenly felt like, I hope no one comes over and starts asking me questions. I feel really, and I think it's just that. And but I'm not, I don't see that as a problem anymore. Like, that's something that still comes up in me. And whereas David's like, great, come on, everyone, come and ask me questions, come and talk to me. Like,
that's nice. Well, I've just always loved hearing you speak, Jen, and you're a really beautiful person, and I'm obviously grateful to you as well. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Love to Maisie.
Yeah, thank you. When I see her, I'll pass it on. Cheers, Jen.
DVS, you have your hand up.
Hello, hi, I'm lying in bed. It should be time to get out now, but anyway, 7:13 in the morning. And I heard you, I'm so glad, I'm so grateful you put this up. I heard you, Linda, I think the first and the only time before was, I was in one of Kathy Case's workshops. And I always have a challenge with the timing, but I was there. I think the main reason was the participation bit, because, like, it's 4 a.m. here and they go into little groups, and it's like, what the hell am I going to come up with in a group of 30 minutes and at 4:30 a.m.? But anyway, and she brought you up. It was quite a while, I think almost in the COVID days, almost, or after, just. But it was excellent because you talked about your Santa Clara and the various adventures you had with Roger Mills and all that. It was all mentioned. But then you got me curious, because both Kathy mentioned and then you mentioned Miss Beverly Wilson Hayes.
Yes.
And I said, who the hell is this Beverly Kathy is going on? And then just as miracles work or something works, she came onto a call in those. It was Harry Durbinski's, the guy who's doing the Africa thing.
Hmm.
And she came there, and I was mesmerized by the energy of. I mean, I'm talking about just a few years ago before she passed, and so I just got a 3 minute chat with her in a 3 minute there and another once because I was just intrigued by this much energy and warmth and spontaneity and just a clear channel of no filter. There was no filter with whatever you were there with her long, but in my case it was. And then she got rid of a filter of mine, and I remember an outburst of joy talking about gospel music. Uh, in the middle of, we were talking about 3P, but the conversation went into gospel music. And because I lived in New York for 10 years and I used to go every Sunday to the Delta 88 to listen to things like the Harlem Gospel Choir or things like that, And I said, have you heard Mississippi Mass Choir, The Lord is My Landlord? And we started singing, and I'm not even Christian. I'm not religious, nothing. I just love the vigor, the aliveness of the music. And I think she sang a couple of lines. Even now, remembering that spirit, why I'm describing all that is because I still to this day, about 6 years into the principles middle ground, I don't know about getting anything, what did you say, raindrops? Um, I still seem to feel a lot of my life, is sucking a lollipop with the wrapper on. Do you know what I'm trying to get? There's a sort of like a filter versus the spontaneity presence of people like you or Miss Beverly or Kathy or Jenny. I know I don't want you have your own access to the wisdom, the what's the divine mind kind of thing. And I have mine and your presence. I'm here because I enjoy being in conversations like, as you said a bit earlier, some people just find joy being in the principles groups. And of course, but we also live lives. I mean, lives outside being in seminars and webinars and facilitating or anything. But what I'm trying to say is, have you ever had experiences where life felt like a drudge a little bit? And then I'm not comparing with any one of you, but I'm just saying, what in the principles would, in your experience, if any, gave, I guess it's an insight which just life becomes more zest. That's what I'm trying to say. Thanks.
Like I said, I'm an incremental learner.
Yeah.
So it's not any big aha moments, but it's little insights. I equate it to like, those light bulbs in the marquee on, in front of the theaters. And they just keep kind of coming on, and then before you know it, there's a lot of light. And I mean, there are moments of this just big flash, aha, and you feel it. Oh my goodness. And then these others just keep happening throughout our lives because the principles are waking something up in us, or not the principles, but the understanding. We are the principles, and we're just we becoming more aware of ourselves. And that's the nature. It's inevitable. It's going to happen, however many lifetimes it happens. But it just is. It will just keep happening. And, when you have somebody stand up and they start talking about this understanding, that grounds us more.
Oh.
So we have a little insight, and that insight now has grounding, and we're not going to dismiss it or ignore it. And so it's just that, I mean, I don't know, you tell me, but I think, you are different now than you were before. I think you know, your zest or your enjoyment or the quality of your life is just different now than it was before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's all that, you know, that's all that's happening to all of us, you know, is just this, as we hear it and we hear the words and it's like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh, the light bulb goes on.
Mm.
And the light bulb will not go off once it goes on.
Yeah.
It may look like it, but it's still on back there. And yeah, so our lives just gradually, incrementally get better. I would say I probably don't even have these huge aha moments. You know, I've had a few, but you know, I was standing in a cathedral before I went off on my first Camino this year. It was in Seville, and the Camino Via de la Plata starts there. So often I'll go to a church, and I'm not Catholic, I'm not Christian. I mean, I was raised there, but I find quiet there. So I'll go in there, and I was just sitting there and reflecting, and all of a sudden I heard this: I am here. Uh-huh. And I didn't even do that. It almost felt like, of course, I'm hearing this. It didn't feel like a big aha moment, but it was like, yeah, of course. Of course I am here. And then I just went back out and had a coffee con leche and, you know, but those kinds of things are now how I'm feeling, almost like it's just not big boom, but just, oh, yeah, okay. So, you know, yeah, we don't have to have those big moments, but I'm glad you mentioned Beverly. Holy mackerel. God. She probably, I would say she was my mentor and probably the most powerful person I've ever known after Sydney Banks. And she didn't really talk principles like you hear Dickin or those guys talk about it. She would just get real profound about love, you know, and the spirit of coming from the heart and acceptance. And I mean, her first grounding is in her church. And she never had to separate the two. Some people think that they don't. But my first experience, I was sitting in this great big hall lecture room, and all these people were in there, and I was sitting there, and this is my first ever workshop in the principles. And I was sitting there, and I felt something come in the back. And then to the side, you know, out of the corner of my eye, I saw this, you know, rather imposing African American woman walking up, sitting down in the front row. And talk about just like, whoa. And then little did I know that I would really get to hang out with Beverly. But she would do this to me. We would be doing a class in the jail, and I'm there as the wingman, right? I'm not there to teach. I'm just there kind of, I don't know why I'm there. And she's going on, and everybody is there for Beverly, right? And you know that. It's like you're just kind of, you know, stale bread. And then she would turn, and Linda has something to say. And I felt like she just, you know, threw me off the end of the pier. And she would do that all the time. But yeah, gosh. I mean, it's hard. Yeah, I don't even think I really realize she's gone. She is such a presence. But yeah.
Was she did she go into Modelo with Roger?
No, she was in Coliseum Gardens.
Coliseum Gardens, okay.
Yeah, Coliseum Gardens is probably, I don't know about Modelo, but Coliseum Gardens was bad. It was a really bad place. You know, there's where they went to dump the bodies.
I think we went and filmed there with Jerry Wilson.
Yeah. But she But not to say Beverly couldn't be thrown. Here's another jail story. Kathy is going into the main jail to work with the maximum security people, and she felt she needed Beverly to go with her. She sometimes got insecure herself. And so she and Beverly went in to make their presentation to these guys to get them to, announce the class and invite them to attend. And they're walking in, and the guards are not letting these guys out of their cells because, again, this is maximum security. And so they have to make their presentation to all of these closed doors. Okay. Well, Beverly froze. She just like, maybe she was in PTSD on this, but Kathy said, yeah. And all of a sudden, Kathy realized it's on me. I got to do this. But so, yeah, so Beverly could get thrown as much as anybody. But, and then after that, though, yeah, if you went in to cover and substitute a Beverly class and you showed up without her, oh man, it's like, well, let's all, you know, let's all go back to our bunks. There's not gonna be anything for us here today. But yeah, she's a hard act to follow. We started the jail programs, and Kathy firmly believed we need Beverly. We need Beverly. And she hadn't really worked with Beverly before, neither one of us. But we wrote up the program on the assumption Beverly was going to be part of it. And then we went and asked her if she's going to be part of it. Sort of like, if she said no, it's sort of like, well, now what are we going to do?
Mm.
But when we told her and invited her to be part of it, Kathy said she just went quiet and then she just screamed because that was her dream, to go to work and work with women in jails. So yeah. Oh, Beverly.
Yeah.
So thanks for mentioning her. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember the feeling. And I
Yes.
remember when you were in that workshop, it was also another lady, Sydney Banks's wife.
Okay.
What's I forgot the name, but she came up also. But that's not the point. The point was Kathy in and you, between you and Kathy and all the people in there. It was what you guys bring up, like Jenny and Dave here. Is I came from quite a few years of this, meaning not that many. It was like, oh, I'm coming here and I'm getting the feeling of groundedness or whatever you want to call it from you guys. It's only gradually you realize it's a space of resonance where your own good feeling or whatever Sydney Banks might have used a term positive, that it shows you the possibility of that within you, the space of conversation. So, and also the warmth, the feeling. Like you don't burst into gospel music with Miss Beverly, in any general webinars, and it's the feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that feeling of perfect love and perfect peace, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you can't talk about that realm in this world, but that's it. That's how we know it. It that's how we can recognize it and experience it. It's perfect love and perfect peace. And it's like nothing else. It's not jumping up and down. It's not, but it's just that. It's this. If you ever think you feel perfection, that's it. There,
Mm.
that feeling.
Wendy, you've got your hand up.
Hmm?
Wendy's got her hand up.
Oh, okay.
Hi, I just wanted to mention that Jack Pransky at Viva this week was talking about the fact that he's bringing Modelo, the book Modelo, and the story, more importantly, of that community change. He's bringing it to life through collaborating with a person that's helping him write a TV series of all things, which was different than a documentary and different than a movie. For some reason, that was the path chosen. So if anybody else heard anything more specific than that, and I'm trying to find the link. Once I find the link to the page where you can contribute, either by saying, oh, I happen to know somebody in the arts in California that could be interested in this project or whatever, there's kind of a general conversation place to kind of explain what they're doing and ask for help, both financially and who do you know that might be able to help, or maybe you can contribute something or volunteer something. So I just thought I would just bring that forward, and I will, as soon as I find that link again, wherever it is in my life, I'll send it to Jenny and Dave.
Have you heard about that? I haven't either. Huh. Okay, go Jack. Jack's funny. Jack is he's pretty good at putting it out and reaching out and doing, and in ways that would reach people. Yeah, just kind of out there.
He's written a book with the historical three principles.
Yeah.
Like how it happened. I can't remember what it's called, but
Yeah. He's such a good writer too that it's real readable. Yeah.
I'll just add to that. What Wendy was saying was that it's only going to be what they're raising money for. It's just a 5-minute trailer. That's all they can afford, and even that's really expensive to do, just a 5-minute professional trailer, and then see if they can actually get the funding from somebody bigger to actually run the TV series that they've already got written. So it's incredible. It's incredible. I also love the fact that Jack pointed out that where all this started was in communities, where it really started, and we really need to get back there, because we've gone off down this track of coaching and professionals and corporates and trying to make lots of money. And he said, if you're just working with people, which is all you need, that's way more important than where we're going. He said we need to get back to the roots of this. What was Sid's dream? So I thought it was a great presentation.
Do you happen to have that link, Dean, of that place where it's being spoken of?
No, I saw the little flyer and I didn't pick it up. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll find it. Yeah, okay.
any other questions or comments?
How long are you in the UK for, Linda?
I'm leaving on Saturday. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going home Saturday. It's like I've been on the road for about 2 months now, and so I was kind of thinking, oh, I'm gonna kind of feel good to get home. So
We
Sure.
said to Linda yesterday, will you do community group with us tomorrow night? We already did it on Monday, but we do another one with us, and you agreed. We put it all out, and then it's my birthday tomorrow, by the way. So Linda, we've got her working on her birthday.
no better way to spend it than doing something like this and hanging out with people. So yeah.
It's funny when Lucia came in and saw Linda yesterday, and she hadn't seen you since Viva. And she
Yeah.
hadn't spent time with you for about 2 years. And she sort of just waited for a while. And then this morning she's like in there giving a card, and it's like, come with me, come and play with me. And she's bossing you around, and yeah.
Yeah. Talk about not having any thinking about what you're doing or saying, just do it and say it. Yeah. But I can see, I mean, somebody that age, you can see they're just taking it all in, just making meaning out of it, and whatever that will be for her as a person, she's her own person and making up her own meaning about this world, yeah.
She thought it was a good idea in town just to keep running up and barging you. I was just like,
No.
she likes to crash vehicles. She likes to bump things into walls. Like it's very kinesthetic. But yeah, it's normally random strangers. So at least you're seeing it to someone she knew today.
Yeah. Mm. So does this group do these people, are these folks that normally come in with you on this, or?
Yeah, I've got a few extras. But yeah, normally people come on our group. Yeah.
Some of us when we wake up.
Some of you when you wake up, yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's only Australia. Yeah.
Well, Lucia's new waking time is 5:30, and I get her set up in like the playroom, and I get her some food, and it's just next door to our room, and we leave the door open, and then I just go and lay down again. So I'm with you. 5:30 is not any time to be getting up.
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes that happens to us because I'm in, California, and when these folks over here have a thing going on in the morning, it gets pretty early for us too. So I kind of get what you're talking about. It's like, okay, you guys.
There must be a drawing factor in the principles and the beautiful channels of it that it doesn't matter. There's no resistance. Wake up. I don't put the alarm. If it's because of the time difference, it can be 4 a.m. to come to Dave and Jenny's, or 3 or 4, I think. And then you just say, oh, it's time to, oh, it's Monday night. Oh, it's their Monday, my Tuesday, 4 a.m. Okay, I'm up. Just a natural put on the iPhone and get in. The more thinking I put onto it, the more the resistance. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm really good traveling because going through the different time zones doesn't bother me that much. And I think it's because of what you said. I just don't think about it. I just change my watch or whatever, but I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
And get into whatever time zone I'm in, I immediately start thinking I'm in that time zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So makes that less of an issue. Yeah.
Linda, can you speak a bit about some of the things you've realised when you've been walking? I know you mentioned a few little examples in your chapter, but there's some lovely things that have come to you when you've been on these 6-month walks.
On the 6-month walk, I've had, this within the past couple of years, like I said, I had that one in Seville, and it was almost like, the idea that I'm here is like everything melted into one. Because the I isn't separate. I am I. Everything here is I. We are here. And that's all that there is. And another one I had, this is a couple of years ago, I was backpacking in New Mexico in the desert. And we all know that we're making it up, right? We're making up meaning about something, but this, it's like I have to keep learning lessons over and over again. So I was hiking and I come to the end of a switchback. And at the end of the switchback is this perfect feather. And I think it's an eagle feather, but it was perfect feather. And sometimes people will get that, they'll stick it in their hat. Or sometimes I thought, I bet you there's sometimes people will look at that and they'll take it as a sign. Maybe they're trying to decide, should I keep going or should I go home or what? Maybe they're working on a problem in their head and they take the feather as a sign that they should do this, or this is the right on this, and I said, no. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to make this a sign. Because you know what? A feather is just a feather until we give it meaning. And it's like, yeah, I know that. I've been teaching that in the principle, but I really saw that. Again, I'm learning lessons over and over again. And it's like, okay, a feather is just a feather. I mean, by the very fact I said that, I've given it meaning, right? I had to even know feathers. So, okay, not going to give it a meaning, not going to pick it up. And so I walked down a couple of more switchbacks, and there at the end of the switchback is another feather. I said, damn, these feathers keep popping up for me today. And again, no, I'm not going to make a meaning of it. I'm just going to let a feather be a feather. And so I go and I get home, and I'm going on another backpack trip up to Washington this time. And my housemate, she's going to take me to the airport. And I told her the story about the feather, and we've had conversations about the principles. And so she walks out to her car and she yells, "You're not going to believe this." Right there, behind her car is, you guessed it, another feather. It's like, dang, I keep getting this lesson, don't I? So I go up to Washington, I stay in this hostel, and the next morning I come out. I'm going to walk down to the bus stop to catch the bus to go up to the trail. And I'm walking down the steps, and guess what? There's another feather. And it's like, okay. So I go get on the bus, and I get a ride up to trail, but there's fire on the trail. So now I have to go into this town to figure out how I'm going to get around the fire. It's just all these logistics things. And I'm just in my head like, oh crap. And so I'm walking down the sidewalk, in the town, and I look down there and there's a feather again. It's like, man. But I keep letting that go. So it's sort of like, okay, I just kept being given the opportunity to relearn that over and over again, and not to get sucked into giving up and trying to make something up out of the feather. So that was one that was really kind of fun to play with. And then I have this idea of time is really pretty made up. And on trail, you're just out there walking. And sometimes it feels like I'm here, and then all of a sudden I'm there. You think so much about getting someplace that all of a sudden you're there. And like everything that might have happened in between the trail an hour ago and where I am right now, it doesn't exist. That in between doesn't exist. The past doesn't exist. I'm here now. It's kind of hard to explain, but I read it. This is a little quote. It says, "I'm here now, wasn't I?" So, these kind of little things keep popping up. And when you're on trail and you have nothing to do, I don't listen to music. I don't play podcasts. I don't play ebooks. I just walk. I don't have anything in my ears. And so, you have a lot of time for your mind to, go a lot of places. But it's also, yeah, this last time I was walking on this in August, I was doing a backpack trip, and it was the perfect morning. Oh my gosh. It's hard to, and I was walking through these trees, and it was so perfect. I mean, I look at those trees, and it's just like you're totally being embraced by them, by the trail. And it was just all I could do was stand there and weep. It was just, and that's, people say, well, why do you go backpacking? And I thought, oh, that's a pretty good reason to go backpacking, but so, and I've learned how, this life we live, it's really mental. And I really see that on trail, because there's no other distractions, and I realized that my state of mind walking down the trail impacts everything that's in range of me. And it's a little bit harder in towns because of the noise and the distractions, but people always talk about going out to nature and getting in touch with yourself, and almost like we need nature to be able to get in that state of mind to have these insights and these connections. And I realized this last time that no, most people are urban dwellers. So if we're going to meet them, we have to meet them in their urban environment. And we can't think that, we have to be in nature to feel this connection. It's there regardless of where we're at. So that was just a kind of another little thought I had this time out. I really kind of saw that as like, no, no, no. If people are going to connect to their spiritual self, they'll, we got to do it now in this busy city life that we live in, because this is where we are. This is it for us. This is our world. People aren't all going to be able to go out into the woods. I don't care what Thoreau and Emerson were talking about, that we need the woods. But so when you're doing, I thought when we're doing this work, as I would say, doing the work, we do it in cities and in towns and in urban environments. That's where people are.
I remember once we were trying to decide about our perfect retreat venue. We were talking to you about it, Linda, and you just said, like, have a nice venue, but actually some of the biggest shifts you'd seen had been in prisons where, grey walls, and
Yeah.
it really hit home, like, wow, we want to create a nice retreat, but actually stop making it about that. Like, that was quite a interesting, you probably just said it as a throwaway line, but it definitely had an impact.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get where it's nice, because if we can set up a nice, quiet environment, that might be more, it would be conducive to people hearing something. But they're in the towns and the cities, and that's where they are. Yeah. Mara is working in, in Chicago, and the communities that were, violence. Roger worked in communities that had lots of violence and crime and all of that, and that's where he worked. That's where he got his results from. So, yeah. But yeah.
See how we're doing. We've got about 10 minutes left. Is there anything anyone would like to ask or share? When?
Always chattering. I was privileged to be asked to, I don't even know how that even happened, to be a breakout room speaker at Viva this year. I mean, really, I went once last year. Anyway, so it was quite a privilege. And so I really loved, Linda, your characterization of being stale bread when, there you are next to Dickon and he turns the microphone over to you and you're like, ah. So they paired me up with Natasha Swerdloff. Talk about stale bread. I mean, I'm like, why? I mean, I've never met the woman, and I've certainly seen, and she's the president of 3PGC and on and on and on. And so this is so me. I meet her on whatever Friday night or whatever at the meet and greet. I said, "Oh, hello." I said, "I'm Wendy," and she goes, "Oh yeah, we need to get together and figure out." I said, "Yes." I said, "I was just so awestruck when they told me that I was going to be speaking with you. I wanted to throw up." And she was like, "Oh." Like that was a pleasant reaction to have about wanting to speak with me, throw up. But that's what I said to her because that's how my mouth runs. Ridiculous. But anyway, so I tried to explain, oh, that's a good thing. I was feeling, very enamored of you and very like unworthy to be in your general presence. So when the Viva videos come out on YouTube, they come out for free. Make sure that you watch the one with Wendy Williams and Natasha Swerdloff because it was a Sunday morning and I had jet lag and I got up and we were to speak at 11:35. That was the start time, 11:35 a.m. Spain time. I got up at 7 a.m., said hello to my flatmates. I was staying in a little flat down near the beach, said hello to my flatmates, got a glass of water, and went back to bed to put my eyes closed for a couple minutes before I got up to take a shower. My eyes opened again at 11:05 a.m. And I was 15-minute walk, and I was in my pajamas with my hair like this. And my teeth not broke. I mean, and where was I at 11:35 a.m. that morning? Sitting next to Natasha Swerdloff, looking a little ruddy, maybe, and a little out of breath, but I was there. And so there was my debut as the stalest of bread next to Natasha Swerdloff. So you'll have to poke it and see that, because what I did sharing the principles, our topic was the simplicity of the principles. So I was like, well, hello, this is what my last half hour of my life has been like. And I'm here. And I won't bore you with the details now, but anyway, or bore you with my talk, as it were. But it's just a funny little anecdote about, I love what you said about being stale bread next to somebody that you admire and you were enamored of, and somehow something came out of my gob. Hopefully it was useful and helpful.
Wendy, that's hilarious.
In retrospect, it is hilarious. In the moment, not so much.
It's made me laugh so much, but it's like you had all that thinking about speaking with Natasha, and then like mine goes, okay, well, sleep in till 11:05, and then you had no time at all to bust your ass to get down there to get there for 11:35.
No, nothing. And the sun is beaming in my eyes. I have no idea why my body didn't wake up. I didn't set an alarm because I was already up at 7. I was just going to go in and shut my eyes for a minute. Yeah, 4 hours later.
It's so funny. Brilliant.
It's funny though, the idea sometimes that we have of who we're presenting with and who we are and what people think. And there's been so many times that I've done that and I've been completely wrong, because I'm pretty much always thinking, oh, no one's really that interested to listen to me, or I've had so much thinking like that over the years. And I think because of the understanding, I haven't paid it attention. And then there has been times where people have come up at the end and said, that one thing you said like impacted me, and I think it's when I first started facilitating with Rudy, he would do like 90% of the talking because I was still kind of getting my voice. But then people say, yeah, but in that little bit that you shared, it was really profound, or your story really touched me. And I think we can forget that about ourselves. And I think you often play yourself down, Linda, but I think you've got no idea. But I think it's because we love listening to other people, and we seem to be able to see the amazingness and beauty in other people more than we see it in ourselves. And I think there's sometimes when Dave shares some of his experiences or insights he's had around the principles and his experience of listening to Sid, and then I can speak and think I maybe sound more practical, or it's not as a bigger story. But actually, there's somebody where I feel like wherever you speak from, there's somebody that speaks to that maybe they wouldn't hear from the other person. So it's just worth remembering that.
Yeah. Oh, there's one person I definitely know I wouldn't want to have to share or follow, and that would have been Sid. Oh gosh. But yeah. And the thing, a lot of people do one-on-ones, but I think one of the beauties of doing groups, especially if you're doing kind of an ongoing group or like a group in a jail, is that the power of the group, the power of the people in there, the power of what somebody else is saying. That, like I said, you never know who's listening and you never know what they hear. So yeah, But again, we're human beings. Okay, we're human beings with all of our insecurities and all of our, crazy ideas and beliefs that we've made up. And so, yeah, we go there, and that's just what human beings do. And yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Any last closing comments, Linda?
No, I just want to say, hey, thank you guys for showing up and being here. This is always fun. And I always love doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I know that it's very short notice as well. So really appreciate everyone being here. And
Thank
David
you.
do this bit. He always says, can you like, subscribe, comment, and share?
Thank you, Jen. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm just going to stop the recording. Goodbye, everyone.
Happy
Thanks,
birthday.
everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.